The Curses and the Covenants, a History Weaver Mystery Book 2 by Connie Worden. Read by the author. Chapter 35. December 26, 1898, Boxing Day. We've had a beautiful wet Christmas. I almost have no words for the stunning sparkling snow on the branches of the firs in the forest as Joshua and I slide smoothly over the white fields in the horse-drawn sleigh. Although somewhat melancholy on the holiday, looking at the shine of gold in the cradle, where I again set up the little nativity scene in the straw, and remembering what great loss that gold engendered to me, and how I had fully expected my little boy to be on my lap this Christmas, enjoying the sights of the little animals around the manger, I swallowed my sadness, so as not to upset the joy of dear Mrs. Lamb and Joshua. Mrs. Lamb is almost as joyous as a child at Christmas. She enjoyed the little manger scene in the cradle probably more than my little Ollie would have on his first Christmas. And the new baby will enjoy it for years to come, and I will tell him about the father who carved it. Sad to think he'll never know that father. I fight back tears every time I think of it. But it was a beautiful Christmas in its way, and I am grateful for all the blessings that have come my way, thanks to the kindness of the lambs, and the Saviour whose birth we remember. Well, was this blow the third in the unholy trinity of threes that bad things are supposed to come in? I wondered as I considered the turn of events. It seemed like a lot more than 3 misfortunes ganging up on us all at once. But for really big ones, it was the third. Ma's stroke, Julia's death, and now the discovery of Danny's body. Or the discovery that it was Danny's body. Could life please cut us all a break for a little while? Please, just for a little while? I wasn't sure who I was mentally pleading with. Maybe the wishing was a form of praying, I decided. The thought brought to mind the experience I'd had at Julia's gravesite, where I'd had that assurance of something more, something beyond. When I examined my inner state, I recognized it was still there. No, the bad in the world didn't negate it. It just made my grip on that assurance a little shakier. But it was still holding. The bad didn't nullify the good. In fact, it didn't even outweigh it. It just was so much more attention-getting. The good was the everyday and the humdrum that we took for granted without noticing. I'd better get in the habit of consciously noticing, I decided. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude, I told myself. Seemed like I'd heard the phrase somewhere. Probably good advice anyway. It never served any purpose to slip into denial and suppress the truth. But all the negative shouldn't be given center stage all the time either. It had to be acknowledged. But then, could it be adjusted? Could my focus be adjusted? I supposed if there was ever any time to test out the theory, now was it. If I could look for reasons for gratitude in the midst of all that had been going on lately in my life, or the lives of those closely connected to me, I could look for reasons for gratitude anywhere. Was the idea biblical? It seemed like it may be. Something about, in everything give thanks, rejoice in the Lord always. Snippets of Bible verses that had been familiar to me from my childhood came back. Maybe it was time to give Bible reading another shot, find out what the book was really about. As a child, I'd certainly never really gotten a handle on it from disjointed Sunday school stories. But besides the stories, maybe there were other pieces of good practical advice like the positive focus verses I'd been remembering. That clinched it. I would try to give myself a new direction for thinking by taking up Bible reading again after all these years. Not that I'd ever made any serious efforts that way before, anyway. It was probably time I did. I felt a small stir of excitement at the thought of being shown the next step along the way in my brand new spiritual journey. Somehow I crawled through the rest of the week to Friday, the 13th of November. I wasn't superstitious, but I couldn't help flinching a little anyway when I glanced at my desk calendar as I taught my first English class of the day and noticed what the date was. It had been tempting to take more time off of work because of Danny's death, or the discovery of it, but I'd decided to adult up and keep on plodding. I'd had so much time off already due to Ma's stroke and the school being closed for Julia's death and funeral. I couldn't afford to miss any more classes if I wanted to keep up with my class objectives for the semester. All the same, and all things taken together, it had been a very long week. To make it even longer, Sarah, with her time off to be with her parents, found one pretext after another to be at the school every single day. Although I'd grudgingly come to accept her friendship again and even cared for her, in an ambivalent kind of way, I couldn't deny that I found her hovering presence irksome. Her company, especially when it was due only to boredom at her parents' place, wasn't my most enjoyable pastime. Friday the 13th or not, I sighed an internal sigh of relief at the reminder that it was Friday at all. January 1st, 1899. I scarcely can imagine that next year at this time, Lord willing, we'll be writing 1900 on our pages instead of 1899. What times we are living in! I am still amazed when I think of the advancements and changes I've seen in my lifetime alone. I never could have foreseen myself travelling to Canada by steamship, then riding the rails from one end of this enormous landscape to the other, and then settling a little homestead with my husband, and then the tragic events that followed. But I must try not to dwell on them. What enormous adventures awaited me when I used to picture my tame future as a little girl, perhaps the wife of a clergyman like Papa, perhaps the wife of a coal miner, after I grew to think it was Oliver Adamson I would marry. But no such tame, everyday existence was to be mine. And who knows yet what my future will hold? I'm not yet 24 years of age. There may be stories untold yet in my future. There is, at last, a returning sense of curiosity to see what they will hold. Especially expecting the birth of a little one, the future seems something to be desired again.